In a previous lesson on working memory, we learned that the contents of working memory can act like cues to search long-term memory. And what will tend to be reactivated will be items of information that are related to the current contents of working memory. In this lesson, we'll look at a specific example of this. So here we have our working memory box, but now we're going to look at the contents over the passage of time. So we have time 1 is the current moment, time 2 the next moment, time 3 the one following. The goal will be to answer this question: what do you know about trees? So let's say somebody poses that. At time 1 then, my working memory has the contents of the goal. I want to answer this question and the content of the question. It's about trees. So the concept trees then is going to act like a search queue for related information in my semantic memory. And down here we have our network, our semantic memory network. And you'll recall semantic memory is sort of set up like an association tree. There are lots of branches and things are associated with each other depending on certain kinds of relationships. So in this case, the concept tree might be strongly linked to the concept of bird because birds live in the trees. The concept tree is strongly related to the concept of wood because trees are made of wood. The concept tree is not strongly related to the concept of shark. So the idea is we've got this long-term memory, this semantic memory set up here, and whatever's in working memory now is going to be interacting with the long-term memory system. Since I'm trying to dig up information about trees, my brain is activating the tree concept, and that activation will also activate related pieces of information in my semantic memory system. So the tree concept quickly activates the bird concept because of the strong association. The concept shark is not likely to be activated because of the weak association. So whatever gets activated by the tree queue is likely to be the next thing that emerges into working memory at time 2. So time 2, I'm still thinking about trees, but now birds have entered my working memory. Why birds? Because it was strongly linked to the concept tree. And we can think of the bird and the wood here as in competition. Right, so the tree concept may have activated both, but whichever one wins the competition for access to working memory is the one that I will experience in my working memory. So we can think of this queue as activating a set of nodes in a network, and whichever concepts get most strongly activated, those concepts will be the next items in our working memory. Now, concepts with the most activation win the competition to be the next entry. So let's take a look at time 2. We had tree and now bird had entered. Well, then now these two become the search queues for memory. So now we've got the concept tree and the concept bird. Well, both are linked to the concept seed. So the concept seed is more likely to be activated than wood because seed is jointly activated by bird and tree. So this gives you a sense of how these association networks might work. That if the contents of working memory are tree and bird, then the next item in our working memory is more likely to be seed than it is wood, because seed is linked to both the bird and the tree, whereas wood, as shown here, is only linked to the concept tree. So you're going to get sort of joint activation of this concept. It will win the competition over the wood concept. So seed now becomes the next item in our working memory at time 3. Now, because some of us have different learning experiences, it means we're going to have different items connected up in our semantic memory and at different strengths. So the strengths of the associations may vary across individuals. But nevertheless, based on unique learning experiences, some memories are more likely to be activated than others, and that will be true of everyone. It's just which new pieces of information are activated might differ across individuals. And the function of attention in this system is as follows. Attention maintains the goal and blocks potential distractions. So remember, the goal was to answer the question. Of course, that does take some attention. We have to maintain that goal for the length of time it takes to search our semantic memory, our database. And we said earlier that the working memory system was a limited capacity system. In this context, what that means is that our mental experience is sequential in nature, one thought after another. So initially we started off with the question involving trees, and then we bring to mind birds, and then those concepts are the search queue, and that brings to mind seeds. So we have a sequence of items and new items in our working memory system, and this is the nature of our conscious experience. It is sequential in nature. Now, working memory systems influence brain systems that plan future actions. So remember, the whole point was to answer this question. So at some point, I'm going to be reporting the contents of my working memory. So the working memory system has access to the brain's planning systems, and including the speech systems as well. Now we're going to use this sort of diagram to illustrate the difference between someone with a minimal education and someone with a lot of education. This person could not say much about how trees survive. So let's say we load up tree in their working memory. We want to know, how do trees survive? Well, they're going to activate the tree concept in their semantic network, and they're going to try to activate related concepts. They might know that trees require water, maybe trees release oxygen, and they might have heard of photosynthesis, but it's not really a strong link here. But maybe they've heard of photosynthesis. But notice the links with photosynthesis to other items like carbon dioxide, water, glucose, and oxygen, these are weak links. So they wouldn't be able to tell us what photosynthesis is. So you see, the concept of photosynthesis is only weakly integrated into their semantic memory system. They can tell us a little bit about how trees survive. They need water, and they happen to release oxygen, and they think they do photosynthesis, whatever that is, but they wouldn't be able to tell us any more. By contrast, someone with a moderate education, this person could say a lot about how trees survive. The concept of photosynthesis is strongly integrated into their memory system. So in other words, now we see the links to oxygen and glucose and water and carbon dioxide are stronger. So this person could say that trees are performing photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is a complex chemical process that uses water and carbon dioxide molecules to make glucose molecules, and oxygen is released in that process. This is the mark of an educated individual. So education, what is it? Well, we're integrating new concepts into a web of knowledge. The well-educated individuals are the ones with stronger links, and that leads to faster access of information and slower rates of forgetting. And interestingly, more complex webs of knowledge can speed up the acquisition of new knowledge. In other words, the more we know, the easier it is to learn more. And this is a feature of brains that is not true of a hard drive in a computer. So the idea is that a lot of psychologists think that the more we learn about the world, the more sort of our semantic networks are very complex, and we have strong links between lots of entries in our semantic network, the easier it is to learn new information because we have more places to hook it up and connect it into the web. And that's not true of the computer hard drive. It's not the case that as the hard drive fills up, it's easier and easier to write new data into the hard drive. But with brains, it seems the more we know, the easier it is to learn more. And we can use this diagram to help us understand a common approach to studies, and that is cramming. Cramming, as it turns out, is a poor strategy for becoming well-educated. Since the information will not be repeatedly consolidated, the associations will be weak. So if we use cramming as our way to go through school, we're not going to be making strong associations. In order to make strong associations, we have to repeatedly consolidate information. We have to use the best practices in our study strategies. Cramming is not one of those practices. So while we might pass the quiz, because these links are weak, we're going to lose retrieval access to this information over time. For the well-educated individuals, because these links are strong, they will be able to retain access to that information. The goal then is, of course, to become well-educated. We want a brain that looks like this, not like that.